Dracula lives in New Orleans and must avoid the rising sun. He has Renfield, his familiar, go out and satiate him with blood. But Renfield's had with doing this, and he meets a nice woman and goes to therapeutic sessions and realizes he wants more. And there's so much blood in comedy. There's limbs being all ripped off. It's great, glorious, gory fun, and the movie sure comes off. Renfield was directed by Chris McKay, who did the Lego Batman movie and Tomorrow War, and provided that anybody is still listening after that terrible, terrible rendition of the Animals' House of the Rising Sun, a great song. I didn't do a good job with it, but nevertheless. It's also written by Ryan Ridley, who's done TV, shorts, and based on an original idea by Robert Kirkman, and Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage star in what is probably one of the finest comedy horror movies I have seen in years. I'm just going to jump right into it. This is fucking phenomenal and hilarious and great. And even though, yes, there are a lot of cheesy jokes and a lot of ridiculousness, it's basically like if you took the concept of the comedy horror that Evil Dead was trying to do and you ramped it up to where it was just a whole lot of fun. This is one of the most fun times I've had at the movies, along with Dungeons and Dragons and the Super Mario Brothers movie. In fact, I would say that Renfield may end up being one of my favorite films of the year because you have Nicolas Cage playing Dracula. Channeling Christopher Lee, by God, you can tell. I mean, you can see so much of Christopher Lee right in Nicolas Cage. I mean, it's absolutely insane. It's incredible. Nicholas Hoult as Renfield, his familiar. If you're unfamiliar with the story of Renfield and Dracula, basically, Dracula needed some assistance. Renfield ended up being his familiar. He got a little bit of his power. He needs to eat bugs to have power. Like, unlock those powers that Dracula gave him. And excuse me, so goddamn excited. I'm getting choked up about it, man. But honestly, they've been together for a numerous amount of time. We see this in various clips in the very beginning, and then in modern times in New Orleans, hence the terrible intro that I did. They end up basically living kind of in squalor, so to speak, after a certain incident leaves Dracula mortally wounded. And Renfield is tending to his needs, getting victims, but then he is an unfortunate victim of circus pants, as it were, and ends up finding a bit of an infatuation that he has with a officer named Rebecca, not Jessica, played by Aquafina, which is Aquafina. Who the hell spells their name like that? Genuine question. What kind of name is that? But nevertheless, she is trying to crack down on a terrible, terrible crime family. The Lobos, not Sheriff Lobo, Miss Sheriff Lobo. Not Lobo, I believe it's the comic book villain from something that totally escapes me right now, but nevertheless. Basically, she's trying to take them down. And there are a few other familiar actors in this just fun romp that's just absolutely goddamn hilarious. There's no element of danger. It is basically pure 80s and 90s cheese released in 2023. But it is gory. It is a delight. It is hilarious. I was enjoying myself from the very beginning. This is right up there with Cocaine Bear and Dungeons and Dragons as the most fun I've had at the movies in a long goddamn time. So goddamn entertaining. So hilarious. Is it high class? Not really. The fight scenes, the action scenes are goddamn phenomenal. This is why movie theaters hopefully will stay open for a number of years. Hopefully, I'll be watching movies in theaters when I'm 60. Not likely. It's probably likely a lot of theaters are going to shut down. But for now, my God, this was entertaining as fuck. There's a particular fight scene in a bar, or a restaurant as it were, where there's great gore. And the gore is so over the top and so ridiculous. But it works. It works because just with the right tweak, with the right little tweak, have fun on seeing that, folks. You get such a sense of fun and breeziness. And it's just great. And Nicholas Hoult, again, Revelation, he's been in other stuff, but this is a breakout role for him. He was really, really good as Renfield here. Conflicted because he has an attachment to Dracula, and then, meets Awkwafina's Rebecca, who's trying to take down this crime deal. And then he's also going to therapy, and there's various other people there, including Jenna Cannell, who was in The Bye-Bye Man, and also in the first Terrifier, who is she's great, she's funny, she talks about a lot of good causes on social media, she's gorgeous, seriously, I love Jenna Cannell, she's great, love her. Hopefully she gets more opportunities. She got a chance to actually do more in this movie than I feared they would let her, but I'm glad they let her have some pretty good comedic lines. And the movie does have a sense of, I'll take my cake and eat it too, or have my cake and eat it too, as it were. But it ends up being just so entertaining that you can overlook any of the flaws. And there are flaws. Are there pacing issues? No, not really. But again, there's no real sense of danger. You don't sense that anybody's going to be in any kind of mortal danger. And Nicolas Cage has I haven't talked about him all that much. He's great in this because you could tell he's having a goddamn blast. He's had a career renaissance with movies like, say, Pig, Willy's Wonderland, Color Out of Space. After basically Wicker Man and I think the second National Treasure movie, basically by 2010, 2011, he was being in a lot of schlock, like the Wicker Man that came out a few years before that period happened. And he was just paying off his debts. And he had that renaissance. I mean, you had The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. This is about as fun. I mean, at least to me. Because that one was a lot of meta shit about Nicolas Cage. This just has a bunch of fun little Easter eggs you really want to look at. But just, it's overall fun. 80s, 90s cheese. It's fun. It's goddamn fun. Fucking loved it. Really great. Go watch Renfield. Now. Go watch it now. Pause this video and come back to it. Why haven't you paused it yet? See, wasn't it great? I told you it was great. But anyway, I'm going to get into spoilers, but it is in theaters. If you don't end up getting a chance to check it out in theaters, absolutely rent it on streaming, but go to the movies. It's fun. There was only about 15 people in the theater I was in because I saw it at 5 p.m. and a lot of people work Thursday evenings, and maybe some people wanted to wait until the weekend, but nevertheless, a lot of fun in theaters. Check it out. Nicolas Cage, Nicholas Hoult, even Awkwafina with the odd spelling of her name. She was good. In fact, she was a very sweary cop. I can enjoy that. So anyway, let's get into spoilers. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. Okay, so yeah, Renfield has to eat bugs, and these bugs give him power, and he's able to rip limbs off and beat people with them. There is this this part in this bar where he helps rescue Awkwafina's character. Is hilarious because he uses a fork and he's killing some guys. But before that, the thing that gets him in this whole deal is messing, or not even intentionally messing. He's at this first therapy session. This one girl talks, or a couple women talk, but one particular person, this redhead, who's the actress's name escapes me right now. She is talking about how a boyfriend or coworker didn't make her feel all that great after making her feel great for so long, and it's a support group for, feeling better about yourself and whatever. So he decides he's going to go visit this person and teach him a lesson. These people have stolen some drugs and think, oh shit, this guy's here on behalf of Lobo. Well, he's not. But then all of a sudden this huge guy straight out of the Bob Sapp playbook shows up. And this is after he, too many pronouns, pal, sorry Vince McMahon, Renfield had ethered them. And then suddenly this guy, this hired hand from Lobo, who's this huge guy, and the running gag of Lobo, of Mr. Lobo, or Tedward Lobo, Ben Schwartz, by the way, in case you didn't recognize him. Ben Schwartz was great in this, too. Man, a lot of great stuff lately. Check out his IMDb page. You may be surprised. He has a big old fancy car, and he sees this weird shit happen where this big honking guy gets torn apart, gets his head torn off by Renfield, and now he's all scared because the head hits the goddamn windshield in the driver's side window in hilarious fashion. He takes off, and Renfield's going to go after him. Well, then Awkwafina's character and a few others are doing beat like at a DUI checkpoint, because New Orleans, what the hell else are you going to do in New Orleans except drink? I've never been, but I've heard there's a lot of drinking there. And nevertheless, through a series of circumstances, we find out that Renfield, he wants to get away from being Dracula's hand. And they're in a weird, dilapidated area, because earlier in the movie, he was caught in a protection spell, Dracula was, and then Renfield saved him, and then the Pope or the Cardinal or whatever the hell, he was dressed like Mawage. He was dressed like that guy from Princess Bride. They get destroyed, and then Renfield is trying to, Renfield actually has to protect Dracula because these curtains get busted down, and of course sunlight disturbs the vampire, or the vampirism as it were. Dracula gets really badly burned. They go to the U.S., and then he's trying to heal Dracula and bring in victims and stuff like that, and he's going to gradually heal. And Dracula gets pissed that he finds out that Renfield basically has abandoned him. He has brought him victims, but he keeps failing him. And then Renfield realizes after a couple therapy sessions, hey, wait a second, I've had enough. I'm going to get an apartment. He gets an apartment, new wardrobe, all that. This is after that bar scene. He's all happy, and then he really likes Awkwafina's character, comes to confess stuff and brings some flowers. And nobody is doing anything about the Lobo stuff. Why? Because the police are all on the take. Every single police officer is on the take. Are New Orleans cops really that corrupt? Answers in the comments, please. If you're a New Orleans cop, ignore this message. Nevertheless, we get more violence, more gore, more comedy. Some pretty funny stuff. I'm going to leave a lot of that up for you to check out. But there's one particular part where the therapy group gets just totally slaughtered because the main guy says, yeah, come on in, no! And because he invited a vampire in, and by the way, Dracula was able to come in to Renfield's apartment uninvited because there was welcome, come on in. And he's like, on the welcome mat, he's like, shit. So the group ends up getting totally goddamn slaughtered. And then because the cops arrive, holy shit, Renfield's going to get arrested. And then Rebecca's partner calls it in because he's also on the take. And everybody from the Lobo army shows up and does all that. And it's hilarious. It's absolutely goddamn hilarious. And then she escapes with him, but she gets shot. And then they end up in his apartment. He's handcuffed, but has managed to make her snickerdoodles and coffee and everything. And then they basically have to have it out as far as a chat. Awkwafina finds out, oh wait, you get Dracula his food, like, oh, wow, yeah, okay, I'll totally believe that. Then it turns out, oh yeah, shit, it's actually legit. Dracula's blood, by the way, can heal people, which is how Renfield got saved when he had a particular incident where he got his stomach cut open. And then Lobo pairs with Dracula to the mob, and vampirism reunited as only they can be. They're going to take over the world. Dracula still wants revenge on Renfield. Him and Rebecca end up, getting a bunch of weapons, going to this particular hideout that the mother criminal, the mafia mama. Wait, I'm seeing that movie this weekend. No, it's not the same. She has this great idea. She has this switch that opens the big old blinds, closes them. Then there's this big old action scene. But one action scene that I do think you guys need to check out is just before that, when Renfield and Awkwafina are escaping his apartment complex. He eats some bugs out of like a kid's little ant collection that he gave an ant to earlier because he's like, I don't need the bugs anymore. And then he realizes he does. And he's just ripping off, destroying people, ripping off, impaling people with other people's arms. How can you not love that? And then he stomps the guy in half. And all these bodies are piled up on this thing. And then they pair up and then they decide to go rescue Rebecca's FBI sister because they lost their father, their cop father, a while ago. And Rebecca just wants to do good. She has to rescue her sister. Dracula almost convinces her that she needs to, join him, and he'll save the sister. But don't worry. They have they have a plan here, and the plan was to get the shit beat out of them for a while. At least Renfield, because Lobo was made into a familiar and even snored a centipede up his nose. So he really was human centipede together. Ha ha. They have a big old fight, but he dispatches Lobo, manages to rescue Aquafina, barely. They manage to get the curtains open, or the blinds open, so Dracula's damaged. But they get down to the basement, and Dracula's about to kill him. They're all this light, all this crap and everything. And then suddenly, boo! They manage to trap him in a protection circle, like from before. But they don't break it with a shoe like Renfield did. They find a bunch of weapons that just happen to be in this basement hideout, like a mace, +1 mace, as it were, as Futurama once said, if you remember that episode. I love you guys. And a sledgehammer, and why don't you call my name? They beat the shit out of him, hack him up, bury him in cement and everything. They did just destroy him. It's great. They beat the shit out of him. Before that, Renfield is hitting him and saying, I'm enough, all this. A great therapy subplot there. Cut him up, bury him. And then that's it. They're going to pursue a life of religious freedom. Is it going to end up being a possible sequel? Maybe. Oh, and also the therapy group is brought back to life by Dracula's blood. So I guess they're okay. They just drain Dracula of his blood, and they're just going to keep it around to heal anybody anytime they die. Immortality, hooray! A+, gets an A+. This is terrific. This is really, really fucking terrific. Please, please check out Renfield as soon as you can. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Renfield. I'll see you soon.